Welcome to RotoGrinders Today. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. BlenderHD. If you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Monday, June 10th. And you know what we do on Mondays? We bring in James McCool, the co-author, with me on the theory of daily fantasy sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass you could pick up at theoryofdfs.com. And he's going to join me looking at this 6-game DraftKings slate for MLB tonight. Hit that thumbs up button anyway in the door. You know how much I like the thummy thumbs. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. We got Grinders Live later today. We got Crunch Time. I don't think there's any weather really we need to be concerned about, but if there's going to be any updates, Roth will be on Crunch Time to serve you that purpose. And they'll go in much more detail later today. We're just taking kind of a first look at the slate. James, 6 games. I don't know. Is it just me or is this light for a Monday? I woke up and I was putting in, prop bets and everything. And I was just wondering, because last night before I went to sleep, I'm like, are not all the props up? Are they not up? And then I realized there were only 7 games today. I mean, one is a little earlier than the slate on DraftKings. Is that normal? Have I just noticed that Mondays have not been maybe not 14 games or anything, but normally aren't there like 10 or 11 games on a Monday?
Yeah, usually we have a little bit more. I was surprised when I took a look at the slate this morning too. We saw 6 games on the main, and I mean that's welcome for me. I don't mind because I really, really like 5 to 8 game slates. That's kind of like my wheelhouse. I much prefer it. So I don't mind, but not much consistency.
I'm a big fan of the bigger slates, right? But to me, bigger slates are easier because the ownership is not completely out of hand. You can just start Xing things out and not having to worry about it. On a 6-game slate, like if you're playing large field, like everything's owned to some degree. I mean, yeah, well, we'll talk about some pitchers that may not be really much owned and some stacks that may not be much owned, but for the most part on a 6-game slate, if some guy, hits 2 home runs, like they're going to be, even if it's 3% owned, like you're probably going to need them. So that's kind of the reason why I like the bigger slates because, some random dude, some random second baseman that no one has, it's like 0.8% owned. And it's like, I don't have to worry about it. No big deal. But we'll talk about the pitchers first on the slate.
Yeah.
I feel on this slate, there are the haves and the have-nots at pitcher. And then there's a bunch of people in the middle that they could be good. They may not be good, and we'll see. Can you talk me? I mean, let's not bury the lead. We got Dylan Cease facing the A's, and we got Logan Gilbert facing the White Sox. You can see here from the bat projections that they clearly stand above the rest of the pitchers on the slate. They are the 2 most expensive pitchers, but there is value. Like hitting is not going to be. There's no exorbitant people you have to play. Sure, I mean, can you play Aaron Judge? Sure. Can you play Bobby Witt or something? Sure, I guess. Can you make a case why you shouldn't have at least one of these 2 pitchers? Like I could see Cease and Gilbert, one of them disappointing, not getting blown up, but disappointing, and maybe a cheaper pitcher matches them. But Dylan Cease's strikeout prop 8.5.
That's too high.
Gilbert is 6.5, moving upward to 7.5. Every other pitcher on the slate is 6 or lower. Is there a case? I know you used your own projection model. Is there a case to be made that I play a lineup that doesn't include one of these 2 pitchers in it?
No. Well, I mean, yes, there is. First off, I think that Dylan Cease stands head and shoulders above everyone else, including Logan Gilbert. But to speak on Cease at the same time, 8.5 is too high for a strikeout for a strikeout prop. It just is. He's good. He's got good strikeout stuff, but like that's a little bit too high. I do have the under on his strikeouts. Gilbert, on the other hand, is facing the White Sox, and it's like, yeah, the White Sox aren't a great team, but they're much better in the recent sample. Over the last 25 games, they're averaging 3.24 runs per game. Over the last 10 or over the last 5 games, they're averaging 5 runs per game. A couple of their hitters are pretty hot right now. Paul DeJong is really hot. Leonard Sosa is doing pretty well. They have some guys who are hitting the ball well right now. And Gilbert, on the other end of that, in the recent sample, has not been absolutely, an ace. So I think that Logan Gilbert versus Dylan Cease, one of those guys is going to be, the right answer. And I would be much willing to bet that it is Dylan Cease. But both of them are going to get ownership. And what happens on these kind of slates is, you look at initial ownership right now, and it's like Dylan Cease at 50%, Logan Gilbert at 40%, Dylan Paddock at 40%. And the first thing that stands out is, the two 10K pitchers are projecting for about 100% ownership, right? Like half the ownership on the slate. And typically that sets off a red flag, and you're like, no, that's probably not going to happen if people can't afford both of them. But when the rest of the pitching is as weak as it is, you can kind of use the cheaper stacks to be able to get up to Dylan Cease and Logan Gilbert. So those guys are going to take up a lot of ownership. Cease is going to be and deserves to be somewhere between 50 and 60% owned. I don't have any quarrels with that.
You would have to think, James, I'm just going by natural human, biases.
Yeah.
That Cease is going to be more owned than Gilbert. I could see, like right now, like I have here 49 for Cease and 40 for Gilbert. Like I wouldn't be shocked if it ends up being Cease being 60 and Gilbert being 32 or something, where, like, picture it like if I was hand building, right? I mean, obviously, if I was, Cease projects for almost 2 full median points higher, and he's only 500 more. Replacing one bat for 500 less is not that complicated. I just get the sense that people, I would be more comfortable with Cease against the A's than Gilbert against the White Sox. I'd be comfortable with both. You took either of them off the slate, and I'm going to be clicking them into my lineups.
Right.
But from an ownership standpoint, I have to think that Cease is going to be way higher. And also, by the way, from a prop perspective, I've been doing this recently, maybe past maybe 2 weeks. I've been pricing the alts for strikeouts.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the main prop is negative value, but the alts are positive. So, for instance, like you said, like, Dylan Cease, you don't have his under. I don't have his under or over at 8.5, but I do have his over 9.5, over 10.5, and over 11.5. I don't know where. I think we got that on Caesars. Yeah, Caesars. Man, I don't maybe not let the cat out of the bag. Caesars doesn't price their strikeout alts. FanDuel is iffy.
Better.
But Caesars doesn't price their alts all that well. So I'm not saying I have a lockdown. Like the thing is that like Dylan Cease over 9.5 is plus 240, right? The over 8.5 right now at Caesars is, or just the best in market is what? Let me take a look here. Cease, where's Cease? Is under 8.5, what, minus one, over 8.5 plus 125 on DraftKings right now.
Yeah.
Plus 240 over 9.5. I got over 10.5 at plus 450 and over 11.5 at plus 850. Now, the way that I bet these is that I just incrementally go down.
Right. Yeah. You just drop your unit size.
Even though the edge on these tends to be, the edge on the highest one tends to be the biggest edge, but it's the highest variance, and I'm not going to put a ton of volume down on it. So I'm not saying that these are like go smash this for $100 or anything.
Right.
But I've seen, and I've been profitable the past 2 weeks on these alts. When they show up, because typically if I hit the first one, I'm profitable no matter what, even if the second two,
Right.
come in.
Yeah, because of the dropping in the unit size. Yeah.
Right. So I just want to show a little, give a little tip for those that aren't looking at they're just looking at the main lines. Is that especially at like 11 o'clock in the morning, these main lines have already been hit for
Right.
strikeouts, especially. They're about, if you find something now, you'd be a little bit suspect about it. But the alts people don't look at enough. And sometimes it's DraftKings, sometimes it's FanDuel, a lot of times it's Caesars. And you don't even have to get much down on it. I mean, even if you're like limited at Caesars, like you're getting $25 or something, why not if you're there? But let's look at the other pitchers on the slate, the cheaper pitchers. I would say that if I was building 5 lineups, 3 lineups, 1 line, like small amount of lineups, 150, we can start talking about playing. God knows, you can play everywhere.
Yeah, especially on a slate like this, you can play whatever on this.
Right. Okay. I feel like there'd only be 5 pitchers in my player pool. Cease Gilbert, and then we have Paddock, 7,100 against the Rockies, and I never have a problem playing a pitcher against the Rockies, especially outside of Coors. We got Eric Fetty against Seattle, in Seattle. I never have a problem picking on Seattle from a strikeout perspective, even though they do have power. And then Spencer Arrighetti, he's even cheaper at 6,500 at San Francisco. The Giants aren't necessarily a team I go out of my way to pick on, but they're not good. I mean, they're not. San Francisco is not a team that scares me. They're a team that they're more likely to nickel and dime you to death more than like kill you on one pitch. And they're playing in San Francisco, so I get a little bit, run protection there. Is it weird for me to say? I don't know what that was. Is that on your end?
What?
I don't know. I just hear some feedback. I'm not sure.
I got nothing. I don't have any feedback.
Does it sound kind of weird that out of the 3 pitchers, Paddock, Fetty, and Arrighetti, I feel most comfortable with Eric Fetty? Is that weird?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Do you try? I don't know. Do I have PTSD from Chris Paddock? Is he back to being a halfway decent pitcher?
Yeah, he's I think halfway decent is the perfect way to describe him. He's got a slight, like an inch above league average strikeout rates. He doesn't really walk people. Over the last month, he's got a 5% strikeout rate.
5% walk rate, not 5% strikeout rate.
Yeah, 5% walk rate.
Right.
He's got about as average of a true average as you can have. My proprietary stuff has his true average at 251. Like, he's fine. It's always a price thing with Paddock. If Paddock is above 8K, you're not going to touch him. It doesn't really matter what the instance, because the upside just isn't really there, and there is downside because he can be home run prone, right? And he can get BABIP'd into the ground. But at 7,100 against the Rockies at home, whatever. Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
To me, the difference between Paddock and Fetty, even if you say that Paddock is now a halfway decent pitcher, because Fetty's a halfway decent pitcher. Fetty, they could let Fetty pitch for like 105 pitches. I mean, like I don't feel like Paddock is a 100-pitch pitcher, and Fetty is. I mean, Arrighetti probably isn't. I mean, out of the 3, I put Arrighetti on the bottom, but he is also the cheapest pitcher. I think Arrighetti's in a spot today against the Giants where if he gets you 15 points, you're like, okay, I'm good. But I'm not sure he goes out and strikes out 7 guys or anything. I think there's much more upside on Paddock and Fetty. But the bat tends to like Fetty. I'm not sure if your model likes Fetty and Arrighetti.
I mean, Fetty's fine. Arrighetti's awesome. Arrighetti is awesome because of the blended strikeout rates on this slate, Dylan Cease has a 28% blended strikeout rate. Ryan Pepiot has a 28% blended strikeout rate. And
But
Spencer
Pepiot isn't on the slate. Pepiot isn't on the slate, so we can't play him.
Of pitchers who are pitching today.
Pitching
He's
today,
not on the
yes.
slate, but he's
Okay.
And then Spencer Argotti has a 28% blended strikeout rate.
It's a small sample size. It's a
It
little
doesn't matter. You work with what you've got. You work with what you've got.
On.
But here, let me get to the downsides, right? So he has shown that he does have strikeout upside. We can agree on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he's shown that he has strikeout upside. The downside is an 11% walk rate, right? So we know like he's super high variance. There's a lot of upside and there's pretty big downside. And what do we want to do when we have a lot of variance, Jordan?
Play against the field, meaning that if more of the people are going to roster him, you stay away. If no one's going to roster him, you want to play him.
Projected for 10% ownership, 6,500. I mean, it's
more. I think he's going to be more on than that.
Okay, so if he gets what's the threshold for you on that?
I'm suspecting that in the large field he'll be high teens, maybe 17%. I mean, he's still far. Like he still makes my bucket, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, look, the start against the Mariners, obviously, he struck out 8. Oakland, he struck out 7, right?
Milwaukee,
Oakland, look at these matchups. I mean,
Cleveland, he struck out 6. Chicago, he struck out 7. Atlanta, like he's got strikeout upside, dude.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, I don't consider the Giants to be that a high strikeout upside team, but
Cleveland is absolutely not a high strikeout upside team, and he had 6 and 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 starts. Okay, that's not as small. It's not itty bitty.
You can do something with 9 starts. He's underpriced. Yeah. This is the $7,200 pitcher. Probably.
Right. Yeah, he probably should be priced in the same range as Fetty and Pat.
And so you get if you're looking at it that way, you're getting nearly $1,000 off if you go from Fetty to Arrighetti, which that's a fun 1v1 to say. Fetty versus Arrighetti. That's a fun one.
Right. And also get half the ownership, and probably Paddock is going to be even more owned than that.
Right. So I mean, if you're looking at it from that perspective, I think that I will also preface I'm not going to play Arrighetti in small field. Like in the 250, I'm not going to play him. 5 to 5, I'm not going to play him. But in the 88 or in a qualifier, if there's 190Q today, I'd play him in 190Q. I'd play him in $13Q. I don't know. Like I think he's a good play. I think he's a better play than Eric Fetty when you consider price and ownership.
Okay, so with our buckets, we always do the buckets for pitchers, the 3 buckets.
Yeah.
The first bucket is obviously Cecil Gilbert. I think you don't even put Gilbert. Come on, Gilbert has to go in the first bucket. Come on.
If I'm gonna play, okay, I play 1 to 3 lineups. If I'm going to play 1 to 3 lineups, I'm gonna choose Cecil over Gilbert in 2 out of 3.
Okay, let's say now we're playing 20 max.
Okay, 20 max. Yeah,
first
sure.
bucket. Okay, no, fine. You have to give people something, right? Second bucket would be Paddock, Fetty, and Arrighetti, right? That's who we're going with, right? Like that's who we're building around. Now the third bucket are people like that are worth taking flyers on, where you're not playing 150 lineups, you're not playing $1 million to first. Like once the price structures get ridiculous, we could start talking about playing Joey Estes and Dakota Hudson, right? Like it'll happen once in a while that they give you 20 points. But the third bucket, I mean, from a price perspective, Colin Ray against the Blue Jays, just because of price. I mean, I'd rather play him over Dakota Hudson because I think Colin Ray could actually strike people out. I don't think he's a good pitcher. And the 2 pitchers here that I consider to be maybe a little overpriced and high variance is Rodon and Berrios. And I don't know what you project for Rodon, but Rodon is like Jekyll and Hyde, right? Carlos Rodon could go out there like his last start against Minnesota, pitch, 7 innings, 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, right? But he also has these games where he's walking 2-3 guys. He's getting, by the 3rd inning, he's at 67 pitches. Like he has some of these outings. The bad projections would say we're not against the Royals. We're getting more of the bad Rodon than the good Rodon. But for 11% ownership, I wouldn't be like, I mean, to me, you got to put him in the third bucket, just even if you throw him in as a flyer, because he at least has the skills when he's on to outscore any pitcher on the slate.
I don't know, man. He's overpriced. I can't touch Carlos Rodon at 8,800 on this slate. Here's a couple things. One, his really good start against Minnesota. So I run a table over at Pater that measures the how high correlation a team has in terms of their ceiling versus the strength of their opposing pitching faced. Okay. So basically, how highly correlated is a team's ceiling to the strength of the pitching that they have faced? And the team that has by far the highest correlation to opposing pitching strength on the season is Minnesota. Their ceiling has a 0.45 correlation to opposing pitching strength. AKA, if they face a good to great pitcher, they're just going to get shredded. So you can, at any start with like a good pitcher, something like Rodon, up against Minnesota, just throw it out.
So we're just throwing out the Twins. These two Twin starts on the May 14th and the 5th. You're just like, the Twins just do that.
Throw them out, man. The Twins.
Is Milwaukee one of those teams also? Miami? Is Miami one of those teams? I mean, he has.
Well, Miami sucks. I mean, like you can say that he had a good start against Miami, but you bucket Miami in the same with Oakland and the White Sox. Miami's terrible.
Right. But all I'm showing is here is that, like, from a ceiling perspective, Rodon has a ceiling. Whether or not, his range of outcomes is wide, but for his ceiling on a slate that's only 6 games, if we were talking about a 13-game slate, there'd be so many more options, right? But let's say, Cease Gilbert disappoint, Fetty gets shelled or something like that. I mean, if you told me Rodon had 30 points today, goes 6 innings with 9 strikeouts and gets the win, like, I'm not shocked it's Carlos Rodon. Now, is it likely to happen today? No, but I mean, like, I'd be much more likely to get that at a Rodon than get Kyle Harrison at 7,400 to do that against the Astros, or Lugo to do that against the Yankees.
One, you don't have to play Kyle Harrison on this.
I know that, but I mean,
comparing you can't even compare Kyle Harrison against Carlos Rodon because Kyle Harrison is 7,400. I mean, the price here matters a lot. 8,800 for Carlos Rodon in this spot. It's just not. He's too expensive.
I have to put him in the third bucket, though. You're Xing him out. I don't think you should X him out.
Here's what I wrote about Carlos Rodon in my newsletter today. It's been pretty up and down season for Carlos Rodon, and it looks like we're going to hit another downturn here pretty soon. Over the last month, he's been really lucky. His BABIP has been low, his left on base rate has been high, and his home run rate has been low relative to league averages. Those are the 3 things that pitchers don't really control. He has a 4.0 xFIP and 2.4 ERA. He has been good over the last month, but it's been mostly luck derived. So he's going into a matchup with what is considered to be one of the best offenses in the league, Kansas City. If you don't consider them the best offense in the league, you have to, or not one of the best.
They're a good enough offense. Yes.
You also have to consider that they have been one of the hottest offenses in the league over the last couple of weeks. So they are trending forward, and they have had stretches of this where they are putting up 6, 7, 8, 9 runs consistently. So you have a pitcher who's hot and cold. You have a pitcher who is currently hot and going to be moving into one of those cold streaks if things hold up, which they usually do. He's been lucky in terms of left on base rates and home run rates, and he's facing a good offense, and he is on a neutral slate about $500 to $600 overpriced, and on this slate, probably more than that. You can't play him here. I understand why you can't. I understand why you don't want to X him out, but putting him in the third bucket, like, how many buckets do we have?
3. We got 3 buckets.
No, screw that. You need more than 3 buckets.
No, you past 3 buckets, you don't play him.
You need 3.
To be clear, James, I got Rodon's unders today in props.
So do I.
I mean, I got his unders. All I'm saying is that in DFS, I don't care about unders or median. I don't care about median values. It's just that Rodon is
It's too expensive.
Raw talent. He may have been lucky recently. Maybe the luck continues and he gets shelled the next start. But at least he has the capability. Joey Estes does not have the capability to go out there.
Joey Estes is $6,800. You can't say Carlos Rodon.
James, you need raw points. I'm talking about raw points.
You get
the raw matter.
It's a 6-game slate. You have Dylan Cease for the raw points, and then you need some value so that you can fit like the Yankees, or you can fit San Diego versus Joey Estes, who, by the way, has a 17% ground ball rate and like a 4% home run rate right now. So San Diego is a great stack. Like I understand what you're saying, but Carlos Rodon is too expensive for me. He's in the fourth bucket.
Who goes in the third bucket? What's in the third bucket? Is the third bucket you just reach in and you get nothing? Just like the bargain basement bin at Walmart, just like Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. That isn't even in the bucket. There's nothing. It's just like, no, we don't have any DVDs anymore.
We don't have any more DVDs. I think that I would probably look at. I don't mind Colin Ray. I don't like at 6,200. I think that third bucket is just to get some value. If you look at Jose Barrios and say I don't want to play him for 8K against Milwaukee, I don't know why you're going to look at Carlos Rodon and say I'm okay with him against Kansas.
We didn't get to Barrios. I think Barrios is okay. I mean,
okay, so put Barrios and Colin Ray in the third bucket. And then just put Carlos Rodon in the dumpster.
Rodon has a higher ceiling than Barrios.
He's also $800 more expensive.
Yeah, but what do I care if he gets 36 points? I don't care what his price is anymore. What does it matter?
Carl, you just 36 points?
You never know. 10 strikeouts.
You can't just say you never know. That's not how DFS is.
He has that in his range of outcomes. I mean, like, come on.
Look,
if Dakota Hudson goes out and strikes 10 guys out, I'll just go to my roof and just throw myself off because the likelihood of that happening is like getting hit by lightning. At least Rodon has that likelihood. It's there. Yes.
Okay, look, I'm in the business of projecting things, all right? My projections.
You're talking to someone that has his unders. I'm not playing Carlos Rodon today. I'm not playing him. I'm playing 3 to 5 lineups. I have his under on his props. I feel like I'm his lawyer. Like now, I feel like I'm his lawyer.
Now you feel like you have to play him just to prove a point, Jordan. Go play him. Go
on OAN or something like that, trying to get people to say that Carlos Rodon ain't a bad guy.
Go play him. Go play him in the 121. Pair him with Dylan Cease. Go play him.
Right. Everyone's like, took Rodon under 5. Yes, I have his unders. You're talking. I have money on the fact that Rodon. Okay, from a media perspective, is not going to. I was under 17.5 outs. I was under everything.
We need to move on from this, and I understand that. But like a 5.5 strikeout prop and all the unders, and he's 8,800. He's the third most expensive pitcher on this slate, and you're like, he has to be in your pool. He does not have to be in your pool.
Okay,
he doesn't have to be in your pool.
I feel like I'm very conflicted. As if
this is a weird.
This is what's going to happen, James. James, I'm conflicted because now, just out of spite, just out of spite, I want to lose my props today. I want him to do well, just for the sake of it. But what's going to happen, James? Like I need him to throw like 11 strikeouts,
right?
Really, because I don't want to.
You don't want to
lose the props and still give up 5 runs in the process and not be useful for DFS.
You don't need him in your pool. You don't need him in your pool.
Let's talk about stacks. We always use the tier list for stacks. We got 12 today.
Yeah.
Right. A little behind on time, even though there's no time limit on the show, but
we could go 4 hours. People would love it. People would love it.
I didn't expect to go 10. I didn't expect 10 minutes to be Carlos Rodon talk.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't have such a bad stance.
I thought your attitude would have been like, I'm not playing him, but yeah, I guess he could throw 10 strikeouts. Okay. And that would have been it. That would have been like, okay, third bucket, I'm not playing him. Like, and we move on.
Not wrong.
Okay, let's take a look at stacks. We got 2 teams that have under 3 totals, but they're not going to be owned. So remember, the tier list for stacks. Right. We're only talking about 4 or 5 man stacks on DraftKings and it's adjusted for ownership. Okay? So if a team is in the F stack or the low stack, doesn't mean you can't play someone from the team, but means that we're lower on playing 5 from the same team, right? So that's what a stack is. And then ownership is the team's going to be 1,000,000% owned, like that's going to dock them, right? So if we say that some team is 90% owned, they're probably not going to be, they almost impossible for them to be an A-tier team unless their projection is a zillion, right? Right. So as they project better, right, they go up the list, and as they are owned, they go down the list. So you kind of compare the two. So let's start. I'm using the BAT stack projections page, which you can get here at RotoGrinders if you're a BAT member and a premium member here at RotoGrinders. Click on that link in the description. You'll get all of our stuff, all of our numbers. You'll see Rodon's projection, and you'll look at it and go, "Yeah, Jordan, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah,
awful projection for that." I'm like, "No, I know. I had it on the screen. I know, right? But his ceiling is high. He still has a high ceiling regardless." Okay. The Houston Astros against Kyle Harrison. They're the top. I mean, when I say they're the top point per dollar stack on the bat, it's like no one stands dramatically out. So like it's very, very close. From a raw point projection, they're not all that great. I'm not going to play Kyle Harrison today, and probably don't like picking on him necessarily. I'm not sure how owned the Astros are going to be. I don't think they're going to be unowned, but I don't think they're going to be popular. I mean, I'll put the Astros. I mean, or the Astros like C, right, like right in the middle, like they're okay.
Yeah, I have Houston projected for the 4th most ownership. Basically, one of the 4 teams that is going to have ownership on the slate. I mostly agree. I think this is just mostly an avoid. Kyle Harrison is he has a good pedigree. He's a good prospect. Very good minor leagues. It just hasn't quite translated to the majors. So, I don't know. Just not somebody that I think that you really need to attack on this slate. There's just better spots.
Would you knock them down to D, or I mean, would you still leave them at C?
I mean, they're fine. Like they have some of the best raw power potential on the slate. And it's not like Kyle Harrison can't give up runs. He's given up 3+ runs, I think, in each of his last 5 games. But for the ownership, it just, they're fine. I think C is fine.
Right. Okay. How about the Blue Jays against Colin Ray?
Blue Jays, I have projected for the 2nd highest sum ownership on the slate. 109% sum ownership right now. It's a better spot against Colin Ray than it is against the bullpen. And for stuff like that, like usually if it's a really bad starter and an okay bullpen, or like an okay starter and a really bad bullpen, it's like I'm fine with attacking that. But I think C is right here. It's so middle of the road.
I think the ownership may get more out of hand with Horwitz batting 2nd, and he's 2,600. So like if you're using like an optimizer, if you're using lineup HQ or any type of thing, like you're going to get so much of it at middle infield position that it's going to like kind of force other Blue Jays in with them. So like, I mean, they're on the higher end of the projection spectrum. I just think they're going to be. I think the Blue Jays are going to be overowned, maybe even vastly overowned today.
Yeah, I almost want to move them down to D. I don't like
too many raw points. I mean, you could still make lineups with Blue Jay stacks and Horwitz, and then play Carlos Rodon in your lineup, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, if you want to throw away money, play Rodon with Toronto stacks. No, I think Toronto. I don't like Toronto as a stack. I like them more as one-offs because I do think they're going to carry a lot of ownership. We can put them in C. I would lean D though.
Okay, how about here's a team that's always good for one-offs, but how about as a stack? The BAT has them as the highest meaning projected team on the slate, and that's the Yankees against Seth Lugo.
I don't think you can put them lower than C.
Lower? Lower? Well, hold on. I was going to question whether or not they should go in the A stuff. What do you mean?
Oh, no. I think B. I think B is fine. I don't like them as much. Seth Lugo has shown signs of life, has been good over the last month. And the Yankees, like obviously as one-offs they're fantastic, but they're going to cost a lot. And if you are kind of trying to go for the route of using Dylan Cease and Logan Gilbert, then you have to kind of consider the price. A Yankee stack is expensive. So
Well,
and
that's
they
only
take
if you play Soto and Judge. Now, everyone else isn't expensive at all.
That's not true. They're
I mean, take a
relatively
look.
expensive.
And take a look. You got the Yankees. I mean, everyone else. I mean, Verdugo's 4K. Torres is 4,200. Austin Wells 3,200. Cabrera. I mean, the bottom of the order isn't all that great.
Yeah, I mean, you have to drop all the way down to playing the ghost of DJ LeMahieu and Oswaldo Cabrera. And I understand that like it's about stacks, not players. I get that, but when we're looking at the meat of the order, like Volpe is 5K, Soto 6.2, Judge 6.5, Verdugo is relatively cheap 4K. I'll give you that, but Stanton at 48, that's a relatively expensive stack.
Well, that's why you throw in an Austin Wells at a catch. You play a cheap catcher. I mean,
is 3,200 cheap for a catcher on the slate?
I mean, it's better than paying 5K. I mean, whatever. I mean, at least it's in your stack. At least you have him in the B. I mean, that's fine. To me, it all comes down to ownership. I'm not sure if I don't. Yeah, I think B is fine, but I wouldn't put it any lower than B. Just, I mean,
I think B is fine. Yeah, I think B is fine.
Okay, here's the opposite side. I mean, I already know where you're putting. If there's a tier above A, anyone against Rodon, we're putting above. I mean, can I go above the URL bar on this? The Royals.
Sure. No.
Right. The Royals an A-tier team. Are they? I don't think they're going to be that owned against Rodon. And apparently you think that Rodon is going to give up 14 runs today.
No, I don't think Rodon's going to give up 14 runs. I think that what I wrote is that I don't think Rodon is going to implode. I don't think that he's a terrible pitcher. I think that he's been overproducing. I think B tier. I think B tier for Kansas City. I don't think that they'll be super highly owned. I do think they have a lot of upside. I think they're right there with New York.
Okay, I would agree with you there. But I mean, truthfully, they're a low key A tier stack today. I mean, we got to put someone in A, and so I mean, I do this too much, where we don't put people in A or F, and then people look at us like, "What is everyone in the middle?"
Well, there's only one team that I want to put in A.
Oh, okay. So, we haven't even gotten to them yet. Oh, I wasn't even sure. Okay, I may not agree with you there, but I mean, I'd rather play for the ownership. I'd rather play the Royals over the Yankees.
I think that's fair. Yeah, we can keep them in.
Okay.
I have Kansas City as my second best overall stack, so I'm fine with them.
Okay. Is your highest overall stack the next team? The gutless San Diego Padres?
No, but I love them. I think they're a B tier.
I mean, they're facing Joey Estes. That's all you have to say is that they're going to have opportunities to hit the ball. Whether or not what they do with those opportunities is a different story, but they're going to have opportunities to hit the ball.
Not only are they going to have opportunities to hit the ball, they're going to have opportunities to hit the ball hard and in the air. And they're going to have opportunities to take advantage of regression, which I love looking for that kind of stuff. So San Diego, terrific spot. Interestingly enough, though, the Oakland bullpen, in years past has been a spot that we've really liked to attack. That's not the case this year. Oakland bullpen has been good. So you do have to kind of worry about that a little bit, but not as much when you're dealing with Joey Estes. There's propensity that he could give up 4 home runs in the spot.
I'm wondering who this top team that you have, because we're getting down to. I mean, to me, there's like 2 choice. I mean, okay, we'll get to them. Okay, going down the list. How about the Mariners against a semi-chalky Eric Fetty? Where would you put them? They can't be. I mean, I wouldn't put them. They have too much power to be F, right?
Absolutely.
Are they at least the D? I mean, would you even put them as a C tier?
I'd put them as a C tier. Yeah, put them in C tier. That's kind of the thing with this slate. You can really, there's not a lot of teams that are like really bad plays. There's only maybe 1 or 2 that I think I just wouldn't touch here, but there's gonna be a lot of C tiers here.
How about So now we get. How about the chalky pitching situations?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the team. I mean, if you had the choice, let Eric Fetty against is semi chalky. Paddock is going to be even more chalky. I mean, I can't put the Rockies on the bottom. I mean, the Rockies have to be at least a D tier. If Paddock's going to be 35% owned.
Mhm.
Because the Rockies, I mean, we'll get into the White Sox against Gilbert and the A's against Cease. But out of these three pitchers, like truthfully, I put the A's on the bottom.
Yeah.
And I put the White Sox on the D tier because Gilbert's still going to be like almost 40% owned.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, if this was like a 4-game slate, I can't put anyone on the F tier.
Mm-hmm.
Like any team against like a 60% owned pitcher, you can't put on the F tier. It's just that we're talking about stacks,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was the key point from the very beginning. Can you play an Oakland A today? Yes. But understand when you play 5 of them, the Oakland A's need to be the highest scoring stack of the slate. I mean, like, and Dylan Cease could disappoint and not be like the optimal pitcher. But does that mean the A's put up 8 to 10 runs or something off of him? Like, I don't think so. So like, I can't. If I were to X out any stacks, it would be the A's today. Even though I don't mind putting, you want to play a Blade or Rooker, a Toro one-off, something like I think that's fine. But I'm not in the business of stacking against Dylan Cease.
No.
So, and I mean, you could even say the same thing for the White Sox, but I think that if I given the choice, I'd rather play the White Sox over the A's. And I think I'd rather play the Rockies over both of them because at least they're more likely to hit the ball against Paddock, and BABIP could just go their way, and Paddock could give up 6 runs.
Yeah. The only reason why I think you have to keep the Rockies in the D tier and not put them in C tier, because I agree, I would rather play the Rockies over both the White Sox and the A's, is because I do think that Paddock is priced well to be leveraged on this slate. So I think that the ownership kind of feels right on him, but I am almost inclined to put the Rockies in the C tier. And it kind of sounds like we both agree on that.
I mean,
I think the White Sox are a D tier. Like, definitively, the White Sox are a D tier because they have been hot enough to where if they were to put up 6 or 7 runs here, you'd be like, well, they'll just keep riding the hot hands. And they do have a matchup where I think that they are going to be able to hit the ball. I think that the A's are definitively an F tier. There's just no reason to stack against Cease here. And by the way, Eric Johnson, Cease does not have a higher fly ball rate than Estes does. Don't lie on stream. And then, like, I just think that of those 3 teams, the Rockies have been able to put up some runs. Ezequiel Tovera is not a bad hitter. Ryan McMahon is not a bad hitter. Brenton Doyle has upside. Like, those guys, maybe they don't put up a whole bunch of runs, but they do have some upside guys in terms of events. So I think the Rockies in a C tier and White Sox D and Oakland A's as the F tier. I think that feels right.
Okay. I'm down with that. That's fine. How about the Giants against Arrighetti? Because I don't think Arrighetti will be owned, but not like enough that the leverage matters. I'm not a Giants guy.
When was the last time the Giants won a GPP?
I don't know. I mean, it has to be at some point, right?
Maybe once this year, maybe twice.
Right.
I put him in the F tier.
Nah, you can't put him in the A. I mean, I'd rather play the Giants over the A's. It's not like the Giants are going to be that owned. So it's like
no, they're not going to be owned. But man, they don't do anything. They pinch hit all their guys after the 5th inning. Like, playing the Giants sucks. Just as a stack, they just suck. I don't know. We can keep them in the D tier.
Okay, how about two teams that actually have healthy implied team totals? One is the Twins against Hudson. They have the highest team total, but from a projection standpoint versus price, they don't, in the bat at least, they're not that high. And typically the bat tends to be high on the Twins more often than not, I've seen. So it's always a red flag where it's like they're facing to go to Hudson. They have the highest implied team total, and the bat's like, yeah, I think you should play the Padres over them. Like, right? So I don't know where are the Twins are, unless you like team total surpasses all the Twins. It's Dakota Hudson. He doesn't barely strikes anyone out. You got to play the Twins. They're an 8-tier team. Like what? I mean, right based on the bat, I would put the Twins in the C tier. But I mean, are they the team that it's either them or the Brewers that you're putting is this mystery team that should go in the 8 tier? I would rather play the Brewers against Berrios than the Twins against Hudson.
First off, Dylan Cease has a 48% fly ball rate. Joey S has 57% fly ball rate. I literally have it up on Fangraphs right next to me right now. Secondly, it's the Twins in the 8 tier. Not only does Dakota Hudson not miss bats, but he's backed up by the worst bullpen in the league. That has been the worst bullpen in the league by far. And then going back to what I had said about that table that I build up with the R2 to opponent pitching strength, Minnesota finds their ceiling against bad pitching. This is kind of the quintessential, we want to play the Twins, even if they're chalk spot. And that kind of like, when I look at the slate and I see, okay, I'm for sure going to be playing Dylan Cease. I'm for sure going to be playing a Rocky stack. If I'm playing, single entry or whatever. That kind of shapes my thoughts around Logan Gilbert being the one that I am going to be off of out of price and all that kind of different stuff, right? So this slate, the reason why I like these 6-game slates, like I said at the beginning of this, is it makes it so as soon as you kind of have a nice stance on what good chalk you want to eat, you can very easily parse out the pieces of chalk that you are okay with getting away from. And it makes it even easier when somebody like Logan Gilbert is going to be 40% owned, 35-40% owned, because that makes me feel good about fading him and getting some extra edge on the field. So for me, it's the Twins by far. I have them as the number one stack overall. I have them implied to score 5.8 runs. So really, really like the Twins.
Well, we'll compromise on putting them on the B tier. I think they're going to be overowned and slightly overpriced. And Dakota Hudson, you're right. He doesn't miss bats, and the Rockies bullpen is horrible, but.
And they have the highest implied team total.
Yeah, true. But I mean.
You are taking some weird stances today. You're like, I have all the unders under it on, but he's got to be in the pool.
I'm looking at the bat projections for the Twins, and they're not good. The Twins project not much better than the Giants today.
That's very silly. That's silly.
Well,
I think that's silly.
Relaying information to you.
I know you're relaying information, and typically I agree that they're. I mean, I really like the bat. I think that it does a really good job. I think that that situation it's interesting to me that they do not project well, considering I know that the bat in the back end utilizes a top-down structure and utilizes team totals pretty effectively.
No, the bat doesn't use team totals at all.
Oh, it doesn't anymore? I know it used to.
No, it never has.
Oh, okay. Then that doesn't surprise me. Okay.
Right. The bat makes its own total. It
does bottom out now. Good for
But it's not that the Twins don't project well. They project fine, but for their price, I mean, Larnach 4K correct with pinch hit risk, Correa 4,300, Royce Lewis 4,900, Kepler 4,500.
They're not high.
Buxton is the shell of himself.
Royce Lewis at 5,900 is the only player that is expensive.
Are you going to stack
not an expensive team?
I mean, like, of course you're going to play him if you're going to stack. I mean, like, if you're going to stack the Yankees and go, I'm going to stack the Yankees, but I'm not going to play Soto or Judge in my stack. Like, you're not going to do that.
No, well, even if you try to stack the Yankees without Soto or Judge, you're still paying $5K for Volpe or $5K for Stanton.
Okay.
Like the Twins, if you stack them and you utilize a $2,400 catcher, which is cheap, like you're spending $20K in a stack. That's not.
I get it, but also they're going to be the most owned team on the slate. I can't put them in the 8 tier. They don't.
No. I'm not saying put them in the 8 tier. I agree. I'm fine with them in the B tier because I do think they're going to be owned.
How about the Brewers? Do the Brewers fit that? That also should the Brewers be in the C tier?
No, they should be in the B tier. I like Brewers.
Okay.
B tier team.
Yeah. They're expensive. They're also very expensive, and that's why
they
I don't
are
think many people can play the Brewers.
Yeah, they are expensive. But they're going to be half the ownership of pretty much any other team. So I think the Brewers are in a good spot.
Okay, so you're good with these tiers?
I am. I think those are really good tiers. Those are good.
Right, and obviously Carlos Rodon is either going to give up 10 runs or strike out 10 batters. So
right, yeah, and it's gonna suck for one of us. But I'm
not playing him. I want him. I want the Royals to do good.
You can't go on the tirade that you went on and then not play him.
No, I'm not gonna. Why would I?
Because you love
the ceiling. If you're playing the main contest for 50K, if you're playing the whatever the hell it is, the main GPP on DraftKings, top heavy, you million to first, a zillion to first, and 8th place is like $10. Like,
yep.
Rodon you could do that. Now I'm not playing that contest. I'm playing the mid stakes. So no, I'm not. I'm probably not even playing the Royals today.
I know you're not, because you're going to play Rodon.
No, I'm not going to play. No, I'm going to play Cease plus Fetty, right? Something like that. Yankees, some Yankees. Probably fade Harwitz and watch him get 18 points as a chalk second baseman, right? Do something like that.
I think today is really easy. I mean, as far as the mid tier stakes, as far as like the 121, 250 and stuff like that, I think today's really easy.
So that means you're going to win. I mean, you already said bold take. You're easy. It's easy.
Yeah. No, it's easy. It's all good.
It's all good. So don't even bother entering, people. Like James got it won. James got all the contests.
I hope there's a queue today. What do we got here?
Yeah. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out the door. Thummy thumbs. You know how much I like the thummy thumbs here. Before, me and James, if you didn't already know, we did the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's 2 full courses and Excel tools. If you want to learn the game theory of DFS, just the core concepts, fundamentals of projections, leverage, correlation, right? If you're asking questions where it's like, I don't know how to do this strategy-wise, it's like all the concepts, from a game perspective of daily fantasy sports, we teach. 15 hours in the first course, then an extra 10 chapters of audio and Excel tools to play around with, build lineups in the second one. So go check those out at theoryofdfs.com. And James, people can find you paydirdfs.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, paydirdfs.com. Have projections and a whole bunch of cool tools, and there's a newsletter sign up if you want to sign up for a newsletter, some free bets and some pitcher breakdowns and such. So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah, bet wise, like I mentioned, I had the Rodon unders. The 2 that I pointed out today of Lugo's under 17.5 outs. I have Lugo's unders also. And home run wise, I have a bunch of them, but I mean the one obviously if you get the bat, you'll have all these. But Alex Bregman plus 825. I don't know. I think that's maybe on Caesars or somewhere. I don't know where it is now. Against Kyle Harrison. So
you want to know my favorite, the one that I have the highest EV bet right now?
What?
It's an over on a Kansas City bet. It's Nelson Velasquez.
Well, but that makes sense. But that does make sense.
Yeah, over on hits, runs, RBIs at 1.5 at 115.
Well, that's assuming that the lineup. That's assuming he's batting 5th, right?
Yeah, and that's a good spot for that bet. Usually when it comes to hits, runs, RBIs, I prefer to take total bases if it's a 1.5. I just think that's typically a better spot.
The thing is that I don't even look at those games until these lineups come out, because when he's 5th, he could bat 7th. I mean, like that, the Royals line. Like if it's a Bobby Witt prop, I don't care. Yeah, like Bobby Witt ain't gonna show up 8th in the lineup like that. He's gonna be batting towards the top anyway. Yeah. But some of these guys on the bottom around here, I never like, unless it's like Dyron Blanco where he's projected 9th. Yeah. And then best case scenario, he comes in and he has a higher spot in the order. Probably doesn't, or just doesn't play and the bet is void. Yeah. Just be careful about those batter props until you get more confirmed lineups.
And like I said, I prefer the total bases stuff anyway for reasons like that. Anyway.
Later today, 5 o'clock Eastern, Grinders Live. Dean will be on. Dean and the guys. The People's Show, as he calls it. I'll be on talking all about this slate. And right after that, at about 6:15, 6:20 Eastern, crunch time. Bringing you right up until lock. Obviously, we're always open in the RotoGrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. And you get all of our data. You get Cheese's $1 Million Musings. That should be out soon if it's not out already. All of his takes. He writes like 10,000 words like every day on every slate. So sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. We're running a deal right now. 6 months of RotoGrinders Premium. You get $250 off. That's way too much to be off. But we're offering it. So come join us. You get that. You get NFL. You get everything. In NBA, the playoffs, NHL, you got PGA, whatever. It's going to be mostly baseball from this point forward until we kind of hit NFL, but we're going to get bored of it at some point, right? But we're doing pretty good today, so hit that thumbs up button. I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know who's on tomorrow, but we will be talking baseball. I'm here for you Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern, talking about all things you're thinking about in daily fantasy, props, and pick'em on RotoGrinders Today.